I never thought my dream would start with a French call in front of a billionaire. The day began like any other until my phone erupted with a ring that pierced through the silence of my cramped apartment. My heart raced. The screen flashed unknown number. I hesitated, with clammy palms and a knot twisting in my stomach. Who could it be? I answered, my voice barely a whisper. Vous avez gagné une chance de rencontrer le milliardaire, said the voice, smooth and alluring in its foreign cadence. I barely registered the words. The world fell away as adrenaline coursed through my veins. A chance to meet a billionaire? My mind spun with possibilities. Moments later, I was standing outside a sleek skyscraper, its glass surface gleaming like a mirror reflecting my hopes and fears. My breath caught in my throat. This was it. I was drowning in the crowd, every face blurring into a sea of ambition and privilege. The overwhelming scent of fresh coffee and polished wood buzzed around me, and my heart thundered at the thought of what lay beyond those doors. Inside the lavish lobby, I spotted him, a man cloaked in charisma, surrounded by a team of well-dressed assistants. Minimalistic art adorned the walls, each piece whispering untold stories while I stood there trembling, rhythmically soaking in the atmosphere. I felt tiny, invisible against the grandeur, my dreams of success cramped into a little box in the corner of my mind that I'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, but never like this. What kind of questions could I even ask? My worries clawed at my insides. The faint murmurs of conversations floated through the air, laced with laughter that only accentuated my anxiety. Suddenly, our eyes met, a flash of intrigue ignited in his gaze. I felt my cheeks flush as he strode closer. The distance seemed to contract until the noise faded away into nothingness. It was just him and me. But in that moment, before I could find my voice, I caught a glimpse of something in his expression, something dark lurking beneath the surface. Was it confidence or deception? Before I could unravel my thoughts, a deafening shout erupted from the crowd. Run! The word shattered the stillness like glass. Panic erupted, and I felt a wave of bodies push against me. Adrenaline surged, filling my lungs with urgency. What's happening? I screamed, but my voice drowned in the chaos. Fear clawed at my throat. I stumbled backward, the polished floor slick beneath me. Had I just stepped into a nightmare? My heart raced, pounded against my chest like a drum. An echoing siren wailed in the distance, drowning out the frantic whispers and gasps around me. The billionaire turned, his cool exterior cracking slightly. Stay close. He shouted, reaching out for me, but I was rooted to the spot, fear tying me down like an anchor in a storm. In a flash, he was gone, swallowed by a throng of fleeing bodies. Uncertainty gripped me. What did I really know about him? Was this chance meeting everything I had wished for, or the beginning of something I couldn't comprehend? As the smoke rapidly descended and screams filled the air, I was left standing alone, engulfed in doubt. What lay behind that perfect facade? What secrets lurked within those piercing eyes? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The echoes of panicked voices faded into the backdrop of my thoughts, my mind racing to catch up with the chaos unfolding around me. I was trapped, pulled between the allure of opportunity and the fear tightening its grip on my chest. The mob surged around me like a wild storm, but amidst this danger, a singular thought emerged: I needed to find him. Heart pounding, I maneuvered through the throng, the sheen of the marble floor beneath my feet slick with desperation. I glanced up and down the hallway but saw only a mass of terrified faces, a dizzying blur of confusion. The billionaire had called for me, which meant I should have followed him. But now, he felt as distant as a mirage shimmering in the heat of an unforgiving desert that I stumbled into a side corridor, gasping for breath as I pressed my back against the cool wall. My thoughts danced across the fear that churned inside me. For all my daydreams of glamour and success, I had never considered that a chance encounter could spiral into despair. Panic clutched at my throat. Was running from this disaster worth the risk of leaving everything I had ever yearned for behind? Suddenly, I caught my breath, steadied by a fragment of clarity. Find him. The voice echoed like a beacon through the murky waters of my confusion. I had to know what lay behind those dark eyes. Did the shadows reflect secrets or sorrow? As I stepped back into the tumult, I felt a firm hand on my shoulder. I turned, heart in my throat, only to find a woman with wild hair and frantic eyes staring back at me. "Are you okay?" she shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos. I need to find someone." I stammered, my heart thrumming like a trapped bird. The woman's presence anchored me. "Let's get out," she urged, her grip firm. "We can find safety outside." For a fleeting moment, hope flickered in my chest. "But there's nothing you can do for him right now. You need to survive," she insisted, and I could see in her eyes that she understood the gravity of our peril. We pushed through the chaos, stepping cautiously around shards of shattered glass that had fallen from the lobby's decorative fixtures. Each step was a question unanswered, each hurried breath a reminder of the isolation clawing at me. Finally spilling out onto the street, the air felt different, thicker with the scent of smoke and desperation. A crowd had gathered, faces painted in varying shades of fear and confusion, but I was not yet free. I scanned the sea of strangers for one face in particular, my heart clinging to the hope that had managed to escape the turmoil as well. "Please, just tell me where he went." My desperation cut through the noise of panicked conversations, but the woman beside me pulled my attention back. "Look!" she shouted, pointing down the street. A sleek black car was pulling away from the curb, tires screeching against the pavement. "No!" I cried, instinctively taking a step forward, but the woman held me back. "He'll be okay," she insisted with conviction, though I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. "He knows how to take care of himself," but that did little to assuage my worry. "But he was regroup," she said fiercely, her tone firm and unwavering. "We need to stay together. There's safety in numbers." A part of me wanted to argue, wanted to break away and chase after the fading vehicle. But another part, the rational one, acknowledged her wisdom. The street was too crowded with chaos, too unpredictable. As I surrendered to her guidance, I felt a flicker of unexpected kindness in her presence despite the circumstances. Maybe, in moments of despair, hope could be found in the strangest allies. We moved further from the building, entering a small cafe that had miraculously remained unharmed. The muffled sounds of chaos became a distant hum as we regrouped with others inside. I breathed deeply, trying to calm the storm within. The warmth of the cafe's atmosphere contrasted sharply with the cold fear still clenching my heart. I scanned the faces around me, searching for any sign of him. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, and I nearly jumped. Heart racing, I fished it out, praying it was a message from him. But instead, it was a text from an unknown number, the words blurring together in my mind, "I hope you're safe. Behind the facade, there are truths you haven't yet uncovered. They're closer than you think." A chill ran down my spine. What did that mean? Who was Jay? My thoughts tangled, leaving me engulfed in confusion as I glanced at the woman beside me. She was focused on the other patrons, her demeanor shifting from frantic to methodical, as if calculating every possible escape route. "Hey," I said, turning her attention. "What do you think about this message?" Her brow furrowed and she leaned closer. "Do you trust him?" The billionaire, trust? The word tasted bitter on my tongue. "I don't even know him, maybe it's time you find out," she suggested, eyes darting toward the window. The idea sent tendrils of anxiety creeping along my spine, and yet, an undeniable spark ignited in my chest. My mind buzzed with unanswered questions. What more lay behind those captivating eyes? And what hidden truths awaited me if I dared to dig deeper? With the world still teetering on the brink of chaos outside, I was left standing at the edge of revelation, caught between questions that might lead me somewhere new or further into the abyss of uncertainty. And as shouts erupted once more from the street, my heart pounded with a singular, unnerving thought: was finding him the path to uncovering the secrets behind everything, or was it the doorway to a darkness I could never escape? The cafe's warmth faded into a distant memory as I wrestled with the weight of the message. J. The letter hung ominously in the air, the shadow of a mystery I had not asked for. Who was this J, and how were they connected to the chaos I had just fled? Anxiety swirled in my stomach, churning with uncertainty and desperate questions that seemed to multiply with every passing moment. Where were you when all of this broke out? The woman beside me asked, breaking through my swirling thoughts. Her voice softened, acrid tension dissipating slightly in the small warmth of the cafe. She leaned against the counter as if trying to absorb the atmosphere of safety that surrounded us. Just chasing dreams, I replied, the bitter revelation echoing in my mind. My dreams now felt like a tarnished coin, glimmering with false promises. My ambition had led me here, to a world teetering on chaos. My name's Clara, I ventured, extending a hand, desperate for human connection amidst the uncertainty. She took my hand firmly. Maya. And trust me, these dreams can be nightmares sometimes. Her gaze flicked to the shuttered windows, her expression unwavering. But they can lead to unexpected allies too. As I settled into the familiarity of her sincerity, the chaotic din outside became a mere whisper, the weight of our reality growing more intimate within the cafe's four walls. She gave me a reassuring nod. Despite everything, I felt a tether forming between us, a fragile lifeline amidst the storm. So, about that message she began, finally turning the focus back to the screen in my shaky hand. What do you want to do? The screen seemed to pulse with a life of its own, each word metamorphosing into infinite possibilities. I felt as if I stood at the precipice of an unknown universe, torn between fear and audacity. I don't know, I admitted, the vulnerability in my voice evident. Could I trust Jay? Did I even want to know what lay behind the facade the billionaire had crafted around himself? Maybe we could figure out who Jay is, Maya suggested, her pragmatic approach igniting a flicker of defiant hope within me. If we find him, it might help you find him, the billionaire. Perhaps they're connected. The thought whipped up the embers of my determination, and I found myself nodding in agreement. Okay, but we need to be careful. We can't draw too much attention. Maya smiled knowingly, an unspoken understanding passing between us. We were both caught in the intricacies of this life that's twisted and unpredictable. I took a deep breath, allowing the tender flickers of hope to warm my heart once more. Our situation was daunting, but together we could navigate the uncertainties. That we stepped out of the cafe, the acrid scent of smoke and chaos wafting through the air, merging with a hint of apprehension. As we moved down the street, I could feel the weight of the decision curling my fingers around my phone, and I hesitated. Wait, I said suddenly, holding back. What if I text him? Maya turned, her eyes earnest. You have to decide, Clara. Are you ready to explore the truths behind those messages? To confront whatever's waiting for you? The question cut through the fog that clouded my mind. Did I want to dig deeper? To open up a Pandora's box of secrets? My fears clamored, a cacophony that insisted I turn back, yet my heart whispered of the unknown, the need for answers that could liberate me, or perhaps lock me into an inescapable truth I was reluctant to face. You'll do it, I said at last, my voice trembling with determination and fear. I summoned that flicker of courage, my fingers hovering over the screen as I began to type. I need to know who you are. What do you want from me? With a deep breath, I pressed send, the weight of my decision settling heavy on my shoulders. In that moment, the air shifted around us, charged with anticipation. As I looked up, all traces of the bustling city faded against the exhilarating thrill of the unknown. Then the phone buzzed almost immediately, jerking my focus back. More than you think. Look in unexpected places. A chill raced down my spine at the disembodied words. What does that mean? I murmured, swallowing hard, uncertainty clawing at my throat. Maya leaned closer, eyes scanning the area like a hawk observing its territory. We need to find a place to discuss this properly. Somewhere safe. A distant scream rang out, piercing the air like glass shattering on the floor, and I felt my heart drop. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, leaving me to ponder whether seeking the truths I so desperately wanted to uncover would only lead me deeper into the shadows of despair. Before I could voice my growing dread, the ground reverberated beneath us, a familiar, low rumble growing louder. My stomach dropped, it sounded like engines. In an instant, fear flickered in my chest as we turned to witness a convoy of black SUVs racing toward us. Oh no, Maya breathed, eyes widening. This isn't good. We need to move. Now, we darted toward a nearby alley, instinct taking over as dread pulled tighter. It dawned on me that the hunt for truth had just taken a sinister turn. I could feel secrets dragging me deeper into an elaborate web of intrigue, but now a darker reality loomed over us. As we navigated through alleyways, something flickered, a split-second glimpse of a shadowy figure watching us from behind a corner. Instinctively, I turned, eyes searching, but the figure melted back into the obscurity. Did you see that? I gasped, breathless as my heart raced, desperation clawing for air. Something profound was unfolding, unraveling ties I thought solid. That I did. Maya glanced over her shoulder anxiously. I think we need to be careful. There's someone watching, but before I could respond, the growl of engines roared closer, and so did the sensation of inevitability weighing heavily on my heart. Chills danced across my skin, guiding me into the darkness of uncertainty that loomed ahead. And then, a thought clawed at my mind, refusing to be silenced. What if every choice I made was leading me not toward revelation, but toward an inescapable fate? The shadows thickened around us as the sound of the engines grew near. My heart raced, and adrenaline surged through my veins like wildfire. We have to find a place to hide, I said, urgency threading through my voice. Maya nodded, pulling me deeper into the winding alleyways of the city, which now felt like a labyrinth designed to trap us rather than shield us. My mind spun in an endless loop, torn between the words of the elusive J and the apparent danger closing in. What does J mean by unexpected places? I pondered aloud, hoping some clarity might offer a lifeline amid the chaos. Maya paused momentarily, urging me forward. Whatever it is, I don't think it's just about location. It's about people, connections. There are more of us than they think. Her words offered some comfort, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the throes of fear. We ducked into an old bookstore, its door creaking ominously behind us. The mood inside was vastly different from the bustling world outside. The air was tinged with a sense of quietude, disrupted only by the faint scent of aged paper. This should do for now, Maya whispered. I nodded, scanning the small space. The musty shelves were filled with both well-loved novels and forgotten tomes, their stories trapped like us in the stillness. As we settled behind a shelf, the gravity of our situation settled like a heavy blanket. Moments stretched on, punctuated only by the ebb and flow of silence. What if they find us? I whispered, my voice barely more than a breath. They want if we stay hidden, she replied, her tone steady though her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. But we need to think of a plan. If the vehicles are tailing us, we might gain insight into who Jay is or why they want to draw you out. That I shuffled through my thoughts, my fingers trembling slightly as I fished my phone from my pocket. The screen glowed softly in the dim light, showing J's last cryptic message again. More than you think. Was this the moment to reach out again, to dig deeper into the mystery that threatened my fragile sense of safety? Maybe you should message Jay again, Maya encouraged, her curiosity evident despite the danger. It could draw them away for a moment, give us a chance to slip unseen. Taking a deep breath to steady myself, I hesitated, wrestling with the weight of my decision. But the empirical need for answers overpowered my fears. I texted hurriedly, what do you mean by unexpected places? Are you trying to help me? The response came swiftly this time, and an icy shiver ran down my spine as I read it. Help often looks like danger, Clara. Look closer at what you're afraid to see. Before I could process the insinuation, a loud crash shattered the silence, echoing from outside the bookstore. It was followed by hurried footsteps, growing louder, threatening to encroach upon our temporary haven. Panic surged. "They're here, Maya. We need to move." Maya's face paled, but determination coursed through her veins. "There's a back door," she said, urgency fueling her as she gestured toward a narrow corridor behind a stack of books. "It could lead us to the alleyway." Without waiting for further discussion, we darted through the dim passage, squeezing past shelf after shelf until we finally burst through the door, escaping into the night air. The coolness felt refreshing but didn't mask the impending dread. As we navigated deeper into the darkness, I noticed the chilling silence that had replaced the distant chaos. "What happened to the SUVs? Where did they go?" I whispered, struggling to keep my breath steady. "They must have left or lost us," Maya replied, though I sensed the uncertainty hanging in her words like thick fog. Just then, I spotted a flickering streetlight ahead, the only beacon in a sea of shadows. "Let's head toward that light," I suggested. But the moment I took a step forward, I froze. "Clara, wait!" Maya hissed, pulling me back. Instinctively, I looked around and spotted an old gray van, parked inconspicuously down the street, its windows tinted darkly. "That wasn't there before," I murmured, a cold shiver darting down my spine. "What if they're waiting for us to make a move?" The sight sent waves of alarm through me, and I felt the weight of the unknown pressing down like an iron fist. What if Jay set this all up? Before Maya could respond, the side door of the van swung open, and a figure emerged clad in an oversized jacket and a baseball cap that obscured their face. My heart raced, caught between fight or flight, but the figure stepped into the light, revealing themselves with an unsettling familiarity. My stomach plummeted as recognition flooded over me. It was someone from my pasta ghost I never thought I'd see again. "No, it can't be," I breathed, frozen in place. "Clara?" The figure called out, voice unmistakable yet laced with desperation. "You have to come with me. It's not what you think." Fear locked my muscles, leaving me stranded in uncertainty. With a single, shocking revelation, every truth I'd sought seemed to splinter into new, impossibly tangled paths. Each heartbeat hammered in my ears, and the choice loomed larger than the shadows that surrounded us. Would I follow this unexpected figure into the heart of danger, or would I risk everything to uncover the truth behind Jay's cryptic messages? In that moment, surrounded by darkness and uncertainty, I felt the weight of my dreams disintegrate before me, leaving only the relentless tide of fate surging onward. The street felt surreal as I stood there, eyes locked onto the familiar face of someone whose memories I had tucked away like faded photographs. A wave of conflicting emotions surged within me: fear, confusion, and an inexplicable longing for the past. "Is it really you?" I whispered, my voice barely escaping the confines of my throat. The figure nodded, taking a cautious step forward, the streetlight casting long shadows that danced around us like fleeting apparitions. "It's me, Clara. I promise I'm here to help." Their voice was a mixture of urgency and sincerity, yet I couldn't shake the trepidation pooling in my gut. This was a person who had left all too suddenly, allowing the echoes of unresolved questions to haunt me like a ghost. "It's a trap," Maya whispered from my side, her eyes darting between the figure and the shadows that concealed our escape route. "You can't trust them," but I was caught in a tempest of memories and emotions, the mundane reality of our situation blurring into something almost dreamlike. After everything, the isolation, the fear that followed me like a shadow, the whispers of Jay, I wondered if this was fate, or a cruel trick. Just tell me what the hell is going on," I snapped, voice trembling with pent-up frustration, pushing aside the flashbacks of laughter and arguments we had shared at a time when life felt simpler. The figure took a deep breath, eyes earnest as they searched mine. "Clara, it's complicated. We don't have time to explain, just know that the people after you are part of something much bigger. Jay reached out to me too. I had to find you before it was too late. Your timing couldn't be worse," Maya interjected, her protective instincts flaring. We don't even know if we can trust you, please, the figure pleaded, glancing over their shoulder as if sensing unseen watchers. We're out of time. We need to get to safety. I can explain everything, but we have to move, now. I looked between Maya and the figure, my heart thundering like a war drum. The streets felt too quiet, the dangers lurking unseen. What if this is a mistake? I murmured, fear clawing at my insides. Fear holds you in place, but nothing else will matter if you don't survive tonight, the figure said softly, desperation fueling their words. You need to trust me now. With a mixture of trepidation and hope lighting the way, I sensed that this was a pivotal moment. Every choice before me was layered with consequence, each path shadowy and uncertain. I took a breath, steeling myself. Fine. But if you betray me won't, they insisted, a resolve glimmering in their eyes. I promise. Maya's grip tightened on my arm, her body coiled with tension. Clara, wait, but before she could finish, the sound of sirens pierced the air, slicing through the thick silence like a knife. Panic pierced my heart. We need to go. I shouted, adrenaline surging anew. The figure led the way, their movements quick yet cautious, weaving through narrow alleys as if they were intimately familiar with the city's veins. Maya followed closely behind as my mind raced. There were so many unanswered questions swirling in my head, but survival had taken precedence. As we ran, the figure shot glances back at Maya, who remained tense and defensive. It was evident there was a history lost on me, and even in this chaotic moment, I couldn't help feeling the weight of unspoken words between them. That I know you're angry, the figure said, finally breaking the silence as we ducked behind a dumpster in a small alley illuminated only by the pale glow of a distant lamppost. But the things I did, they were to protect you. Protect me? Maya sneered, voice low and filled with doubt. You left her behind. How is that protection? It was to keep her safe from this. They snapped, urgency tinged with frustration. You don't understand what they are capable of. Please, we don't have time to fight among ourselves right now. The sirens grew louder, closing in on our position, the echoing sound vast with authority. A distant part of me felt the weight of this sudden alliance, and the bonds of trust binding us in this moment. However fragile they might be, then just tell us what we need to do, I insisted, swallowing my doubts, letting the desperation of the moment push me forward. How do we stop them? They took a shuddering breath, clearly struggling against the clock. There's a safe house, but we have to be smart. If we're going to survive this, we need to use the connections we have, make every moment count. Maya turned to me, her face softening for the briefest moment as the urgency washed away the anxiety. We can do this. Together. We just have to trust each other, the figure nodded in agreement. Then follow my lead. Just then, a muffled shout came from the end of the alley, and my heart sank. They're here. In that instant, the weight of what lay ahead loomed large. My dreams and hopes felt so far away and yet so close, like specters taunting me with uncertainty. As we dashed deeper into the night, leaving behind the shelter of familiarity, I felt the stirrings of destiny, a current pulling me toward an uncharted journey even as the shadows of my past loomed ever larger, threatening to swallow us whole. The world blurred around me as we ran, each heartbeat a resounding reminder of my fragility. It felt surreal, racing through shadowed corners of an unforgiving city, breath coming fast and raw in my chest. The sirens howled in the distance, a cruel symphony that matched the chaos rattling my mind. Turn left here. The figure urged, their voice urgent like a beacon guiding me through a storm. I followed, Maya close at my heels, her presence a mix of comfort and tension, as our fates intertwined with fears we had buried long ago. In this moment, time felt elastic, stretched thin and heavy, yet everything was moving so fast. I glanced sideways, catching a flicker of the figure's face, an expression etched with determination and something else, something unresolved that gnawed at me. Whoever they were, they seemed to carry the weight of our shared past like a cross on their shoulders. That we skidded around another corner, ducking under the dim light of a flickering street lamp, sweat coating my brow. Just a few streets over, the figure whispered, urgency pressing on us like a vice. If we can get to the safe house, we can regroup and figure this out. The words spilled out uncontrollably, mixing with the adrenaline thrumming in my veins. Why now? If you knew I was in danger, why didn't you come sooner? I pressed, wrestling with anger and sorrow, my emotions a tangled web that refused to untangle. That we were watching from a distance, waiting for the right moment, they replied, glancing back as if the echoes of our past could catch up with us. When Jay went dark, I thought the time had come, but I couldn't. The explanation caught in their throat, and I witnessed a flicker of pain cross their features. I thought I could keep you safe by staying away, they finished, struggling to keep the anguish from spilling forth. My resolve wavered, memories of our shared laughter and arguments coming alive with vivid intensity. Deep down, I knew their intentions were born from a complex well of love and fear, but wounds don't heal easily, especially when they've been steeped in abandonment. But the scars you left, they bleed deeper than you know. For a moment, the unsaid hung heavy in the air between us, but the shout of men searching nearby shattered any illusion of connection. We had no choice but to press on, the thrum of danger thrumming louder in our chests. As we rounded another dimly lit corner, Maya stumbled slightly, her foot catching a loose stone. I reached out instinctively, steadying her before she could fall. Keep moving, I urged, my voice both a plea and a command. We finally reached the quiet entrance of a rundown building that blended into the shadows. The figure looked back at us, a fleeting storm of anxiety in their eyes. This is it, they said, pushing the door slightly ajar. Stay close. We can't let them see us. Inside, the air smelled of nostalgia, like a long-abandoned childhood home. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through cracked windows, and the silence carried a weight of tense possibilities. Stepping inside felt like crossing an invisible threshold into a realm where clarity was obscured by the past. Maya leaned against the wall, trying to catch her breath, while I could feel the figure's presence looming large yet fragile. What now? I asked, my heart racing not just from the run but from the questions spiraling inside me like a storm. They ran a hand through their hair, a familiar gesture that sent a jolt of memory through me. First, we assessed the situation. We need to gather any resources we can find in this place. There might be supplies, a phone, anything that can help us, they replied, urgency lacing their tone. Find a phone? Maya echoed skeptically, her eyes narrowing. You think we'll just call the cavalry? It's not a joke, Maya. We need to think. I retorted, frustration sharpening my words. I was starting to feel the strain of short-sightedness pressing upon me. The figure stepped forward, placing a hand on my arm. Clara, we're in this together. I'm here now, and I won't abandon you again. But please, trust me. Their eyes held mine. A green hue swirling with sincerity that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. Let's just figure this out step by step, okay? I tightened my grip on my emotions, desperately wanting to believe them. Okay, step by step. As I scanned the room, a flicker of hope stirred deep within me, ignited by the unfamiliar spark of trust. In the far corner, a shadowy figure emerged, not an intruder but an alien old friend from days before the fall. Diana stood there, her expression cautious yet determined. Clara? She called softly, voice wavering as recognition dawned. What are you doing here? Diana was more than a friend, she was a sister, a heart tethered to mine through shared dreams, laughter, and late-night secrets. But the surprise of seeing her now threw me into a whirlwind of emotions, possibilities unwanted yet tantalizing, doubts crashing over my head like dark waves. Why did you come? I asked, stepping toward her, the fragile threads of our past twining into this fragile moment. I heard whispers, unsettling murmurs about danger. I couldn't let you face this alone, she said, determination hardening her voice. It's not safe to be out there. Before I could respond, another shout echoed from outside, the urgency of footsteps drawing closer. My heart pounded heavily against my chest, adrenaline spiking as everything paused for a heartbeat. We were truly trapped now, corners closing in, and I felt the spectral weight of choices looming. What do we do? I asked, anxiety prickling at my skin. But even as I searched their eyes for answers, my phone buzzed steadily in my pocket, a message alert breaking through the tension like thunder. I fumbled for it, the screen illuminating my face in an eerily intimate glow. That it wasn't just a message, it was a video call, a face I never expected to see, a face that had been nothing but a ghost haunting me for too long. Clara, JS' voice slipped through, muffled but clear, each word laced with urgency and desperation. You're in danger, and I need you to listen carefully. The world shifted around me, the air thick with memories as JS' face filled my screen, a haunting blend of familiarity and fear. Clara, are you there? His voice cut through the cluttered silence like a knife, jolting me back to the present. Yes. I'm here. I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the onslaught of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. My gaze flickered between JS' anxious expression and the worried faces of Maya and Diana, who had edged closer, their breaths catching in synchronization with mine. That I can't explain everything right now, but you need to trust me. They are coming for you. He paused, his face tight with urgency. You need to get out of there. Now. Each word hung in the air, each syllable steeped in dread. Who is coming for me? The question tumbled out, laced with confusion and fear. The shadows around us morphed into specters of doubt, whispering accusations and memories I didn't want to face. Those you think you can trust most. I'm not safe either, but I found a way to get you out if you can just follow my instructions, Jay insisted, his eyes pleading, almost desperate. Your only option is to leave with Maya and Diana. We'll meet at the old. A sudden crash echoed from the entrance, sending shards of sound slicing through my thoughts. We weren't alone anymore, the time for whispered secrets was rapidly running out. The figure, once only a beacon of familiarity, now felt engulfed in shadows as fear etched deeper into the lines of their face. Clara, go. Jay's voice surged with urgency, an echoing command that shook me from my reverie. They're here. Now. Move. Before I could respond, a heavy thud reverberated from the door, the sound laden with the harsh reality of our situation. Without thinking, I pocketed my phone. The flickering light had dimmed now, but JS' warning still rang in my ears, a lifeline in the chaos. Get to the back. The figure's voice, both an order and a plea, stirred within me a maddening rush, merging fear with determination. We need to move, now. Maya grabbed my wrist, her grip fierce as we followed the figure's lead down a narrow hallway, the walls closing in as though testing our resolve. Diana brushed against me, her eyes wide and searching. What did he say? She whispered, panic lacing her words. That I don't know. Just things are worse than we imagined. I replied breathlessly, tossing back a desperate glance toward the entrance where the distant shout hinted our pursuers were closing in. As we reached a door at the end of the corridor, the figure halted, pressing their ear to the wooden frame. I felt my heart slam in my chest, the rhythm sinking with each surging wave of adrenaline. Well, go through here, they said, their voice low and urgent. Stay close and be quiet. No matter what happens, do not separate. The tension in the air wrapped around us, constricting like a vice. I swung the door open, revealing a dimly lit staircase spiraling into darkness. Each step was an echo of our intertwined fates, whispers of what was lost and battles yet to be fought. That we stepped into the shadowy depths, every footfall a reminder of the weight we carried. I struggled to keep my breathing steady, torn between the bitter clutches of anger and longing toward the figure who had pulled me into this turmoil. At the bottom, the air turned cooler, a discomforting contrast to the heat born from our panic. A chill rasped at the edges of my resolve. The figure paused, glancing back with an uncertainty that sent a shiver down my spine. The flicker of something unspoken crossed their face, a flicker that ignited 1,000 questions tangled deep within my heart. Where does this lead? Maya asked, her voice tight with apprehension. To safety, hopefully, the figure replied, their eyes slicing through the darkness ahead. But we need to be quick. Just as we began to move again, a distant crash echoed from above, reverberating through our bones. Footsteps, angry shouts filled the air like a storm brewing, a tempest of certainty that our window to escape was rapidly closing. They're coming down. Diana gasped, her eyes wide with realization. That I forced back the panic rising in my chest. We can't go back now, we need a diversion. The figure's voice rang with urgency, and just as the words left their lips, I felt its trembling tension, the looming danger. In that moment, something inside me broke loose, igniting the fires of anger previously suppressed. Jay did this for us. He's risking everything. I suddenly shouted, the words spilling from me like a confession. He's not the enemy, they are, Clara, now is not the time, Tono. If we're going to make it, we need to trust each other. We need to fight. My heart thrummed, a spark of rebellion coalescing in my chest. The figure hesitated, their eyes scanning my face, recognizing the storm brewing within me. Fine. Then we make our stand here, they finally conceded, a resolve hardening their expression. Well, take them by surprise. Do you even know what we're up against? Maya interjected, her voice quivering between fear and frustration. That if we wait any longer, we won't have the chance to find out, I countered, my breath shaky yet determined. We either fight or we stop running. That we all hesitated for a heartbeat, conflict raging in our depths, but in that moment, I saw something shift within my companions, a forming bond, the beginning of an alliance built from desperation and shared purpose. Before another word could leave my lips, the sound of footsteps grew louder, a heartbeat pounding as they descended. Some unyielding sense of fate whispered to me that this was our moment to make a choice, to embrace the chaos swirling around us. And with it came an unexpected revelation that pressed against my heart like a heavy weight. Holding my breath, I met the eyes of each of my companions one last time. In that fragile silence, the unyielding question hung like a thread between us: what were we willing to sacrifice to forge our own destiny? And as the door creaked open behind us, spilling light and sounds of chaos into our dim sanctuary, I realized the truth: none of us were wholly innocent in this battle. But it was a battle we had to fight together, no matter the cost. Together? I asked, uncertainty mingling with fierce conviction. Together, they echoed, voices aligning like a chorus ready to defy the storm. The door finally burst open, and we were ready. The fight for our lives and for the truths we were desperate to uncover had just begun. As the door swung open, reality erupted like a storm, our sanctuary shattered beneath the force of unrelenting chaos. We faced figures emerging from the blinding light, shadows contorting into the visage of authority and threat. The air pulsed with adrenaline, thick and electric, and for a moment, time suspended, grounding me in a bittersweet blend of fear and fierce determination. Move. The figure alongside us urged, darting forward to shield us. My heart raced, propelled by a mix of survival instinct and the knowledge that I had chosen to stand my ground. We pressed against the wall, fingers trembling over the surface as if the rawness of our connection might somehow anchor us in the unfolding nightmare. Clara. I heard J.'s voice seeping through the walls of my mind like a siren, a reminder of what had propelled me here, but I pushed it aside. The memories of his pleas echoed in my heart, yet the focus had to shift to the present, to this moment, to the chaos that threatened to engulf us whole. Above the din, I could hear the flickering sounds of uncertainty. Maya clutched Diana tightly, their eyes trained on the figures advancing toward us. I could barely make out their faces, but I felt the chill of authority woven into their movements. These were not merely agents or pursuers, they felt like harbingers of a darker truth, the very entities that Jay had warned against. Get ready. The figure commanded, their voice low but heavy with intention. We need to distract them long enough to escape. Anxiety rippled through us. What exactly are we supposed to do? Diana shot back, her voice laced with panic, but I felt the embers of courage igniting within me. Just follow my lead. The figure snapped, and somehow, despite the overwhelming circumstances, I could sense the flicker of hope threaded through their urgency. The first figure broke the threshold. I braced myself, heart thumping against my ribs as chaos unfolded. I remembered fleeting moments shared with these two, laughter over coffee, whispers of dreams that felt distant now but had once burned bright against the mundanity of our lives. Those dreams felt tethered to this very moment, they motivated us now more than ever. Go. I yelled, bursting forward as the figures approached, catching them momentarily off guard. I charged against the nearest assailant, feeling the adrenaline surge in my veins. The force of my action caught me by surprise, as did the sudden weightlessness of my emotions, all swirling in a tumultuous storm of fight or flight. "Clara, no." Maya's voice sliced through my bravery, but it vibrated with a peculiar warmth that stirred something deep within me. Her support bolstered me as I grappled with the figure, legs entangled in a desperate scramble to gain the upper hand. The fight was a primal dance of instinct, breathing in the chaos, exhaling adrenaline. I felt a rush when I finally broke free, darting back toward Maya and Diana just as the commotion unfolded, a symphony of chaos, shouting, and the sound of bodies colliding against one another, punctuated by the quick breaths of panic that in that fleeting moment, as I stood beside my friends, I felt the reality of the stakes weigh heavy on my chest. I didn't truly know what lay ahead, but I was reminded that in this moment of fear, we were powerful together, every heartbeat sinking to a rhythm of defiance. "Back this way." The figure shouted, and we obeyed, rallying together as we fled down a dimly lit corridor branching off from the main chaos. Behind us, sounds of scuffling intensified, a reminder that our pursuers were persisting, relentless in their quest. "Do you have a plan?" Maya asked, her voice cutting through the haze. "That we just need to reach the exit." The figure panted, glancing back briefly. "It's a short distance. Just keep moving." But as we pressed on, I felt troubling unease creep back into my thoughts. I turned to the figure. "Why do you know all of this?" "Who are you?" "I told you. Doesn't matter right now. What matters is getting to safety." Desperation hung heavy in the air. I wanted to trust this person who had valiantly stepped in at such a critical moment, yet my heart couldn't completely let go of the concern gnawing at me. They weren't just risking themselves, they were risking our lives too. As we shoved through doorways, my mind raced back to J's message. I could feel the dizzying weight of a world that had once seemed contained unraveling around me. The reality was, I didn't know if I could trust Jay, or the figure, or even myself in this storm. Finally, we reached a steel door, a solid promise of potential safety. I thought it led to the alley. The figure said, suddenly on edge. "It'll be a tight squeeze, but we need to push through." We turned to each other, fear morphing into resolve. "We have to go." I forced out, and together we shoved the door open. The biting chill of night air rushed to greet us, but no sooner had we stepped out than I felt a surge of trepidation. The street lay shrouded in shadows, but it was also a maze of sprawling uncertainties. Pain washed through me, intertwined with the tenacious hope of freedom. I felt closer to something profound, yet the shadows lurking in the corners reminded me that peace was as fleeting as a lit match in the night. "Which way?" Diana whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant shouts echoing back from our origin. "Follow me," I urged, taking decisive steps toward the alley that branched off from the street. Suddenly, a thought wafted through me like a ghost, stinging and unshakable. What if we weren't running toward safety at all? What if we were running directly into a trap loop that would ensnare our souls even deeper? As we rounded the corner, I glanced back, and a deep chill settled in my stomach. Shadows morphed before my eyes as a piercing realization struck me. There were figures emerging from the darkness, a collective poised to strike. "Run!" The figure shouted, but it felt as if the ground beneath us began to shift and sway, unraveling our escape, pulling the thread of my hope taut until it threatened to snap. Just as we dashed into a new alley, I felt a jolt of confusion ripple through me. A familiar silhouette loomed there amid the shadows, a face twisted in malicious intent, drawing closer. "You thought you'd escaped?" The voice echoed hauntingly within me like a battle cry. As our eyes locked, recognition collided with the embodiment of my deepest fears, and dread seeped into my veins like poison. My world had shifted once again, and another brutal truth loomed just beyond the horizon, a truth that entangled my fate with deeper implications, leaving only a chilling question behind: who had I truly become in this struggle for survival? The knife edge of my dilemma had never felt sharper. As I turned to run, the unforeseen consequence of my choices bore down upon me. I could feel the weight of betrayal slip through my fingers, tainted with the desperate hope that perhaps, just perhaps, I still had the power to change everything. With the dark alley swallowing us whole, the echo of that familiar voice ricocheted in my mind. intertwining disbelief with the cold truth I had begun to dread. Heart racing, I skidded to a halt, the weight of choice pressing heavily on my shoulders. "Clara, move!" Diana pleaded, tugging at my arm. But my feet felt like lead, rooted in a confrontation with the past I couldn't escape. This wasn't just about survival anymore, but about the flickering remnants of everything I thought I knew. "Wait!" I hissed, forcing my mind to sharpen through the haze of panic. The figure at the alley's mouth drew closer, and when moonlight finally broke through the shadows, recognition flooded my senses. Felix, me former friend, my silent accomplice turned adversary. "Did you really think you could run forever?" He smirked, his eyes glinting with the thrill of this twisted reunion. "You've come so far, Clara, but this isn't the end of your story." "Not yet." I felt a chill crawl up my spine as his malicious words struck a nerve deep within me. "What do you want from us?" I spat, adrenaline urging me to fight back, but a lingering sense of betrayal bound my tongue. Felix had once been a part of my safe haven, now transformed into a specter haunting the very foundation of my reality. "From you?" He chuckled, as though reveling in the absurdity of my question. "I merely want to see how far you can fall before you realize that the ground is made of glass." Maya, still holding tightly to Diana, stepped beside me, her presence a reminder of the bonds we shared. "Clara, we need to go," she whispered urgently, her gaze darting toward the shadows. "Run," the figure behind us urged again, but I could feel the grip of hesitation tightening around my heart. I wouldn't give in without knowing the full truth. "Why, Felix? You were supposed to be on our side." He stepped closer, the distance evaporating like the remnants of light in the encroaching darkness. "You're naive to think there's a side in this world. You think the chaos ends here. You're merely a pawn in a game far bigger than your little dreams." A bitter taste pooled in my mouth. "You made your choice, Felix. And I can't let you dictate mine." I clenched my fists, the fire of determination igniting within me as my friends shifted nervously behind. "Such spirit," he mused, almost mockingly. "But, alas, desires never amount to much in a world like this. You'll soon learn that realization is a bitter pill to swallow." "Enough." I growled, my voice steady now as I took a step forward, defying the fear clawing at my insides. "You don't get to decide my fate." "I do." Felix's expression morphed from amusement to something darker, contempt mixed with an unsettling pleasure. "Then run, Clara. We'll see how well you fare in a world of shadows." With that, he stepped aside, opening a path between us and the shadows beyond. My instinct screamed for me to flee, to retreat with Maya and Diana, but a storm of conflicting emotions raged within me. We hesitated for only a moment, a heartbeat lost in the depths of doubt. And in those fragile seconds, a flicker of hope ignited within me as I recalled J.'s desperate warning, the warmth of our shared memories shimmering like the stars against a painted sky, a reminder of why we fought. "Let's go!" I shouted, willing my legs to obey as we sprinted past Felix, the solace of each pounding step overshadowing the chaos that threatened to consume us. We barreled deeper into the labyrinthine alleys, hearts racing, each turn twisting the knots in our stomachs tighter. The air was thick with the scent of rain on pavement and the distant whispers of abandoned dreams calling from the shadows. Yet, with every breath, a new realization dawned: Felix was only a fragment of the darker truth looming over us. As the alley began to widen into an open street, I stole a glance over my shoulder. No longer just a figment of the past, the remnants of my prior choices rushed back, reverberating against the walls of my conscience. I had unwittingly become a player in a game I had barely begun to understand, and this game had only started. Unfolding, where to now? Diana asked breathlessly, her face pale from despair, but threaded with determination. "We need to find somewhere safe, a place to regroup and figure this out," I replied, pulse still thrumming like a war drum within me. As if the universe heard my thoughts, a flicker of kindness emerged from the gathering shadows. A figure stepped into the flickering light of a nearby street lamp, an unexpected savior from the night. It was an elderly woman, leaning against a brick wall, her face etched in the lines of countless stories. "You look like you've seen trouble, dear," she said, her voice a soothing melody against the storm churning inside. "Come, I know a way to hide from those who seek to do you harm." Hope surged within us momentarily, fragile as a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. Yet, just as I began to nod in agreement, the hair on the back of my neck prickled with instinct, a warning sign swirling through my gut. "Wait," I said, peering closely at the woman's face. Something felt eerily familiar, and as our eyes locked, my breath hitched. The depth of her gaze seemed to reveal a kaleidoscope of secrets, stitching together past, present, and an uncertain future. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice trembling on the brink of trust and skepticism. The silence that fell was heavy, dense with implication. And just as her lips parted, poised to divulge whatever wisdom lay behind her gaze, the unmistakable sounds of footsteps approached, echoing ominously in the still of night. Shadows deepened, cloaking the truth just out of reach. The air grew heavy, tension coiling around us like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. And in that moment of uncertain clarity, I realized one thing: my journey was far from over. What awaited us was a truth darker than I had imagined, and now it seemed as if the very fabric of my existence was about to be reshaped forever. The sirens blared in the distance, echoing through the alleyways like the ghosts of our fears, chasing us with every hurried step. As we stumbled to a stop, my heart raced rapidly against the backdrop of chaos. Jay was still fresh in my mind, his warning begging me to keep moving. "What are we going to do?" I demanded, the weight of uncertainty clawing at me like a relentless pursuer. "We can't keep running forever, Clara." "Well, figure it out," Maya said, her voice steadier than I felt. The remnants of my doubt threatened to drown me, but the fierce clarity ignited by our shared desperation pushed through the haze. "We need to confront this. We can't let Felix win. Not after everything we've been through." As if on cue, my phone buzzed again, startling me from the whirlpool of swirling thoughts. It was a message from Jay, just as heavy as before: "Find the truth within yourself. Everything else will follow." The words pierced through the cacophony around me, resonating with an undeniable urgency. My breath caught in my throat. Was there some truth to these cryptic messages? What if the key to unraveling everything we faced lay deep within? "We can't keep guessing, we need to take action," I asserted, finding my voice against the storm inside. "We need answers." The figure from the shadows lingered at the edge of our group, watching us like a lighthouse amidst a turbulent ocean, their aura remnants of past intimacy entwined with the shadows of our shared fears. "Then we confront Felix," they suggested, a challenge hanging in their tone. It was a bold move, but my body reacted instinctively. "What are you?" Diana began, but I cut her off, feeling the surge of conviction pounding in my veins. "No, it's time. I won't hide anymore. If we face him together, we can turn the tide." The figure's eyes widened slightly, caught off guard, but the flicker of respect in their expression emboldened me further. "You're right. We can't sit here waiting for him to pull the strings together." Maya's eyes held uncertainty, but that didn't matter when the fire of determination kindled among us. "Well, together or apart, it's still, ultimately, our choice. Let's take our fears and use them," the figure said, their voice steady. "Show him we are not just pawns." My heart pounded in my chest, an anthem of rebellion filling the aspects of my soul that had been buried under layers of confusion and doubt. "Let's go," I said, the finality of my words punctuating the decision made. No more running. As we retraced our steps, the wait for the inevitable confrontation heightened the tension in the air. Every step I took resonated with the weight of the choices I had made, the tumultuous road leading us straight back to Felix. "Are you ready?" I whispered to Maya, sounding braver than I felt. "More than ever," she replied, her hand gripping mine in solidarity. The alley forked into the wider streets, shadows playing tricks on my mind, reminding me of the danger that loomed around every corner. But with each heartbeat, I felt the tether between us strengthen, reinforcing the commitment we had forged among the chaos. And then we saw him standing in the same place I had left him. His expression was unsettlingly calm, as if he had expected us to return. My breath quickened, adrenaline surging within me, but my resolve held firm. Decided to come back, did you? Felix smirked, leaning casually against a wall. How very brave or foolish of you. Enough with the theatrics, Felix, I shot back, brimming with indignation. What do you want? What is this really about? He pushed himself off the wall, stepping forward. It's about the game, Clara. A game you've unwittingly stepped into. I told you once before, there are no heroes or villains. Just survivors. You think standing there, defiant, changes anything? You're still just a piece on a board. The weight of his words struck like a physical blow. Doubt tried to creep through the armor of resolve I had donned, but Maya squeezed my hand. No, Clara is not a pawn, she declared, each word laced with ferocity. We have the power to change this game. We're here to take control, not merely follow your rules. Such conviction, Felix replied, amusement twisting his features. But I wonder if it's enough. Let's find out, I retorted, frustration boiling over with the bitterness threatening to swallow me whole. The tension thickened, dragging moments into what felt like hours, yet within that stillness, I felt my own courage radiate. Every heartbeat seemed to echo a promise. I was not defined by fear or the chains of my past. Step back. Felix shouted, drawing away, his demeanor shifting defensively as a flash of anger crossed his face. But I stood my ground, adrenaline striking through me. You've hidden behind these games long enough. What if we turn the table? I challenged, the clarity of my words striking through our tempest, startling us both. If you want a game, then let's play it. Time seemed to freeze, and for the first time, Felix faltered, uncertainty flickering momentarily in his eyes. What do you propose? No more hiding, I replied, my voice steady and unyielding. We find out the truth together. No secrets, no shadows. Just answers. His expression shifted into something unreadable, and I sensed the shift, the tension dissolving into a choice, a possibility building in the air. You want to play? Felix smirked, an edge of hard-fought admiration sliding into his tone. Yes. The declaration rang like a bell, strong and unyielding, reverberating through the air and marking a pivotal moment in my life. That I glanced at my friends, each of them standing side by side, a constellation of bravery shining against the dark. Together, I reaffirmed, a silent pact among us, our fates eternally entwined. Felix studied us, brow furrowed, and with a calm that belied the storm brewing within, he nodded slowly. Then it begins. And just like that, it felt as if the air shifted around us, releasing those burdens we had carried so deeply within. The initiation of a game unlike any other. As the shadows receded, clarity emerged, and with it, the possibility of something greater than mere survival, the power of agency, unity, and the aspirational strength to unveil the truth within ourselves. That in that moment, the visceral weight of the world around us began to lift, and as we stepped closer to the truth, I knew we were on the precipice of something profound, a transformative journey that would change everything, shaping us anew, sheltered together in the light we would forge together. Just as I had once feared the shadows, I now embraced the dawn, waiting to emerge into the world unfolded before us, a world we would reshape, no longer as players in a game, but as architects of our fates. And as we moved forward, I whispered a silent promise. No matter what lay ahead, I was ready to face it all. United with those who had once been lost, we would find our way back to the light together, armed with the truth, and bravely stepping beyond the edges of our fears.